While she's setting this up, today this should be counted towards your final scoring, so try to participate if there's anything happen in the process. Answer the questions that means, okay? Try to look alive. All right, so all yours.
Okay, thanks, Professor Tai, and it's kind of my pleasure to come here and to provide you some basic optics knowledge regarding the glasses. And also, I do need to apologize that I just lost my jump drive, 随身碟, a few minutes ago. So I kind of replaced my slides quickly. So it looks not as beautiful as it should be. But I mean, unfortunately, we need to accept it. And for today, because later Professor Tai will talk about one article regarding smart glasses using liquid crystal or spatial shape of the glass design to get a tunable nearsighted or far-sighted glasses for human beings. So before that, I hope to provide you the basic idea about the optics in a short time. Okay, so today we start with how can we focus on this light beam. How can we focus on light beam through optical lens? For some of you probably already have basic idea about thin lens. Okay, but please raise your hand if you do have the basic idea about thin lens. Just raise your hand. One.
Hands. Good.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Around 50%. Okay. So I will start from the beginning to discuss the basic principle of optics, so that when you read the article later on, you have more sense on the materials that author want to provide. Okay. So firstly, when we talk about the optical lens, we need to have basic understanding about a very important principle of the optical light, 光束. Okay, we call it the Fermat principle. Okay, so 费马定理. Okay, but actually Fermat has many principles in mathematics, and more famous one also in mathematics. 费马定理在数学上更有名，但在光学上有一个 very important principle. It says that light rays travel along the path of least time. 就是光花最短的时间到达它要的地方。And based on these principles, so you probably have done some pinhole experience before when you were in junior high school, senior high school, something like that. And the teachers will show you if you have a hole which is large enough, you will see your shape on the screen, right? If you lighten that. But if your hole is really tiny, like a pinhole, 针孔, okay, so your image will be flipped. But all of them just try to verify that your light starting from the end of P will reach that end at spending the shortest time. Okay, 光它会从这里走最快. Okay, so that's the basic principle. And also, if you are interested in this topic, you can search through the YouTube. There are so many YouTube videos to show, to verify light goes straight to the other end. Okay, so that's the basic idea. And then, once we adopt it, we are able to get better sense of the function for the thin lens. Okay, so just let me show you. When we use lens, usually in our daily life, there are two main purposes. One is we want to focus light at a certain point, and the second to extend the length. Okay, and by using these two functions, based on these two functions, we are able to use different shape of lengths. And before I talk more in details, I hope to let you know when we treat the light, actually they are type of energy source. Okay, when we have one beam, which means we have an optical energy, 光能, starting from this point and reach the point F. So when we have a focused light on F, means we focus all energy on that tiny spot. Okay, so that's something you probably never heard about, but I just provide you the sense for that because it's important. Later, when we look at the human eyes, we need to understand how it works. Okay, so let's go back to regarding the thin lens. Thin lens means 薄透镜. Okay, so we have usually two types of thin lens. One is this kind of convex lens, okay, and the other is concave. One is 凸透镜 and the other is 凹透镜, okay. And the reason we are able to focus light after it passes through the this convex lens to focus on one spot, that's because the light wants to search for a path, spend the shortest time. Okay, so they are able to reach that. But you need to compare how can we make sure the light bent layer optical path. Optical path means 光路径. To reach the F point with the shortest time is because in the lens we have refractive index. Okay, and refractive index actually, because I lose that slide, so I didn't describe it in advance. So it's the ratio between air light speed to the speed in material. Okay, so if our light speed in the air is the value you have heard about it, 3 times 10 to 8 meter per second. 你们都知道光速就是3010的84方每公尺每秒。Okay, that's in the air. But if you have a glass or any type of material, you usually have your own light speed, like inside the table, inside the screen, or in the glass, in the water. You will see different light speed in different materials. So we define one physical parameter, refractive index, 折射率. Okay. Oh, let me. Okay. Yeah, this N, which is the light speed in the air, the maximum, divided by the light speed in material. So usually the value on the top is higher than the value on the bottom. So your refractive index always larger than 1. That's 1 point. The second one is that every material has its own refractive index, just like everybody in Taiwan has your own ID, right? 身份证. So we usually call refractive index as the ID of materials in the field of optics. That's one thing. So eventually, if you have a thin lens, we assume it's made by glass. And the refractive index usually at the visible 可见光 is around 1.5. Okay, which means the light speed inside the glass is 1.5 times smaller than the air. Okay, so if the light passes through the lens with larger distance inside the lens, they want to shorten at time, okay? Because, for example, this light has the biggest part inside the lens. So it spends more time inside this lens compared to this one. So overall optical path, its optical path will be shorter than the light outside of area. So let me just do the comparison. One is green and the other is yellow. Okay, so when you pass through the lens area, the yellow one spend more time on it, right? So the green light has a shorter time for it. So after passing through the lens, it spend longer optical path than the yellow one to make sure they are able to reach F point at the same time. Okay, and all physics behind it is a little complex, so let me just summarize in one sentence quickly in Mandarin. 好，那刚才讲的有点复杂，那我就用中文来辅助一下。其实就是光都要走最短的距离，对不对？那如果光聚焦在这里的时候，我们是假设它是同时到达的。好，那就来了。你的绿色的光，它经过这个比较就是光速比较小的地区比较短，那黄色的比较大。可是它们两个要同时到，那怎么办呢？你的光就要走远一点，好，它就会走这样子的一个路径。那 in summary, which means the all optical path behaviors highly depends on the shape of your thin lens. So if you have convex lens, you are able to converge, 收敛 okay, converge your optical light into a tiny point. However, if your thin lens has a shape like this, which is concave, then you tend to make all light, for example, if you have light coming in this way, you tend to have parallel 平行 optical light getting out. And on the other way, if you have parallel light from this way, you will extend the optical light in space. Okay, so that's some idea you probably can know. And because I still have some time, so I just mention more about the basic principle to identify the output after your light goes through a thin lens. As an example, just provide you the basic idea and also give you some experience for you to learn like advanced EMI course in your following years. So if we talk about ray tracing, which will be another important principles in, we say, ray optics, 几何光学 or imaging optics, 成像光学. Okay, and I believe some of you have heard about it before, so I give this one as an example. It says that, how do we define the focus point, which also or the end point of your optical light, which can be considered as image, 成像. Actually, when we consider image, it will be the arrived point or reach, the light will reach this point finally. Okay, so we say that the image will be formed by spatial light passing. And one principle is that if you have parallel rate into this thin lens, you will get focused on the F point, and this F point is defined by the shape of the thin lens. We call it focal length, okay, which means from the distance between the center to the focal point, we define it as focal length. In Mandarin, we call it 焦距. Okay, and this focal length actually is highly dependent on the shape of the thin lens, which means by knowing the shape of your scene length, then you are able to define this focal length. And the other interesting part is that this is only one example of the shape you will see for the scene length. Later on in your article, they will try to make this shape variable, or they will make spatial shape of this scene length to manipulate 控制 the value of focal length. Either you make it tunable 可调, or you can design your own focal length by change the shape. Okay, so that's one part. And once you have designed your lens over the material in spatial shape, 形状, then the parallel rate will always go through the focal point. Okay, and then another path will go through the center part of the lens. Then you are able to define the merge point of your optical line. Merge means 聚在一起 the point. Okay, that particular one will become your image. Okay, so later on, no matter what, you probably need to focus on whenever we see image, it means many optical lines gets the point. Okay, that you are able to get clear image. And because this idea is also very important for you to understand more topics later. So let me repeat it quickly in Mandarin. 好，那在这里就是有一个概念要让你们知道，因为等一下我们会讲近视眼视。好，那我们在这里讲成像的意思，就是说，当你要成像的时候，我们在物理学上的光学上的表达方法是两条光束聚集，或是3条，或是4条，或是5条聚集的那一点，它表示它的能量真的汇聚在那一点了，那就是你所谓的成像。Okay, so as we can see, we have optical path 1 passing through this point. We have another optical path through the same length. It goes straight. Then the close point between these two lights will be considered the location of the image. Okay, so once we have the idea for that, then we are able to. This one I probably need to. Escaped. Okay, we need to start the discussion of human eyes. Okay, so this will be. I will actually provide you the. Because let me just. I have this one. It will be much easier compared to by using hands. Okay, so here will be the human eyes. I found out it through the website, right? Because I don't have enough time to provide you the link of this particular one. You just means show the copyright. So we just accept it at this moment, and later I will add the copyright. Okay. So here is the typical human eyes, and inside this complex system, actually we have 3 parts, or say 4 parts, related to the image on our eyes. Okay, and also I want to emphasize the reason we are able to see the anything or the human bodies or everything. That's because we usually collect optical energy, which also called light, into our human eyes and focus on the end of your human eyes. Then we provide a signal. This energy provides some signal into biosignal for you, and this signal will be transferred to your brain. Okay. So later we will talk about the details for it, but before that, let me just point out each important elements in Chinese so that you have better idea about what I'm going to talk about. Okay?
所以在讲之前呢，在讲底下的理论之前，我先帮你们连接一下重要的那个主要的那个元件，就是我们的那个细胞的一些我们人脸器官的一些重要的一些元件，关于成像的。好，那刚才我讲的第一个就是说，人眼为什么可以看到东西，是因为你的眼睛可以接受到光。
Okay, so it could be better, right?
Slightly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So, yeah, but this one is not long enough. Wow. Okay, so in this way, could be better. So, this is important elements including cornea, and also this one, the retina and the humor, as well as the later I would like to let you know, 水晶体, the lens. They usually just call it lens, but in Mandarin, in Chinese, I just name one by one. 一个就是角膜，一个就是水晶体，第三个就是玻璃体，第四个就是视网膜。Okay, so 视网膜 the retina is an important detector to detect the optical light. Okay, so let's see. Once you have a basic idea regarding the function of this, regarding the name of these important elements in Mandarin, let me just replace it with a simple human eyes here. Okay, so if we consider the image function of human eyes, you can see there are cornea, okay, 角膜, iris, which means 瞳孔, okay, which means the open window for you to collect optical light, and lens means 水晶体. And following here, it will be humor is the 玻璃体, and retina is the 视网膜. Okay, so it says that in general, we consider the elements of a human eye with cornea and also the lens, as well as this humor as a combination of stimulants. Okay, because they have their own refractive index. Also, they have a similar shape to thin lens. So we are able to focus light into the retina at this point. You can consider it as a screen of your optical light. So once we have basic idea for that, then let's take a look at different various situation of human lights. Probably because we only talk about these two, okay? Because the others will be too difficult for you to understand quickly. So we talk about the nearsighted eyes. Okay, so eventually we focus on light based on the cornea and the lens. Then if you have nearsighted eyes, which means your focus point, the merge point of your optical light, it doesn't reach the retina, in front of the retina. Okay, so if you want to collect it, we usually try to make a concave lens to switch the input position of the optical light to make sure you are able to merge all of light in the position of retina to induce biosignal and transfer it to your brain. On the other end, if you have far-sighted eyes, which means naturally your image point
will be behind your retina 视网膜 behind 视网膜之后。So what we usually do is we try to aim a thin lens in front of it to switch the effective input position to make sure you are able to have light merged at the end of your retina. Okay, so as we can see for these two, in your article, the scientists, they try to manipulate different liquid crystal materials to make sure you are able to switch from concave to convex quickly. And so if like people like me, we are old enough to have both scenarios of nearsighted and farsighted in parallel. If that's the case, they just showed you, if you look at the scenes far away or you look at the books, you need to put different lenses in front of your human eyes, right? And they make it tunable. So they are able to change the shape of your thin lens quickly so that they are able to do it. And then let's go back to the idea that how can we change it quickly? Okay, so as you remember, when I say the shape of thin lens means the boundary between refractive index of 1.5 and 1, right? So as long as they are able to manipulate two things, one is refractive index. Second is distribution of refractive index in space. Then they are able to manipulate optical paths, because your optical light always search for the shortest time, the pace, to give it the shortest time, right? So they always will change their optical paths to follow the Fermat's principle until they are able to reach the point they want, right? So finally, I would like to also show you there are so many type of lens, like this convex, double convex, or any type of shape. And before, traditionally, people make this lens in glass. And glass is a solid, it's a hard material, right? So once you make a lens, you are not able to change it. You just accept it, whatever the shape it has. However, if you make it as liquid crystal is like liquid type and soft. So you are able to bend it, or even you can change the shape by applying the electric signal, 电讯号. Okay, so which means the lens can be replaced by this one and quickly goes back to this one, and you are able to tune in the image point of your human eyes quickly. Okay, so that's pretty much the basic introduction of the physics behind these articles. Any questions so far? No? If no questions, let me summarize them quickly in Mandarin. Okay, so to make sure you are able to take important principles or important knowledge to home. OK， 好，那最后我通常上完 EMI 的时候也会做一个重整，然后用中文，好，因为有时候跟理论比较相关的事情，同学在用英文的时候可能还有一点吃力，好，那所以我们通常都会重整几句话用中文。那我要让同学带回家的就是，等一下的文章呢，它其实就是用易经，或是它甚至会有其他数学的方法，去做出一个很奇特的形状的镜子。那过去为什么我们像我们这样戴眼镜呢，都不太会变，就是没有办法调呢？就是因为我们的眼镜是玻璃做的，玻璃是硬的东西，一旦做完它就结束了。那易经不一样，易经是软的。而且它可以电控，所以就会变成说，本来你要做的是这两种镜子的形式， 那它可以用电控的方法，一下子变成凸的，一下子变成凹的。那有些人呢，他如果是老花加近视，要看远的呢，近视有极限；要看近的老花有极限，他就可以用电的方式，一下子变凸，一下子变凹，然后就可以让你成像在你的视网膜。OK， 那最后一个重点就是它如何决定成像的，只有一个定理，费马定理。就是说光要走最短的路径，花最少的时间到达它要的地方。因为这样，所以你可以去设计不同的镜子，还有设计它的材料。OK? So because we probably run out of time, and let's call the end of this particular section. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Alright, do you like it? Good. Yeah. If you say don't, you're in trouble. Okay. Yeah. So, wonderful lesson. I hope you learned something, because later you're going to have to use it when I start asking you questions about that article. Let's give you, well, though there's still 10 minutes to the recess, but I think we can take a short break. Give you 5.